Today we're going to be looking at the 5 best Burning Abyss monsters of all time. Now these monsters are going to be very familiar to you, and they're going to be monsters that you've seen so many times just because of the fact that that's kind of how Burning Abyss works. Like, it's kind of always got the same lineup and the same sort of staple engine. So hopefully you can maybe chime in and leave a comment down below and tell me which ones are your favorite. So getting into this completely legit and 100% serious list on April 1st, at number 5 we have Emergency Teleport. So this originally came from someone who posted online and specifically must have been hitting a blunt or something at the time, because they just randomly hit out with, what if E-Tele could summon Dante? And it was the most jarring and bizarre thing I've honestly ever seen anyone suggest or ask in Yu-Gi-Oh! I just don't know where the connection could ever be made. I don't know where the link is. I don't know how anyone could draw that conclusion. But regardless, I felt like it was worth including in this list. So at number 5, I decided to include Emergency Teleport. Now, while it is not a monster, it is definitely just too powerful to not include as a generic Burning Abyss search card. Now, generally, you will have something like Kanya of the Burning Abyss. Now, he sends Burning Abyss spell and traps from the deck to the graveyard, and conventionally and traditionally, you would be sending something like Good and Evil, but what you can also do is send Emergency Teleport of the Burning Abyss, and you can just add it back to your hand after you've made Curious with your Dark monsters in 3 different types, which is slowly becoming a bit of a combo card in the Burning Abyss archetype. I don't know if you guys have seen much of it around, but it is, starting to get up there, and I feel like Emergency Teleport, because of these little interactions and just the fact that it is a 1-card Dante that does not use up your normal summon, it was definitely worth including just because of how strong it is. Now, number 4, we have Kuri Bandit. So Kuri Bandit is just absolutely phenomenal in Burning Abyss. You can summon it and then tribute it off and mill 5 cards instantly. And then you can, trigger Rhino, Graph, Seer, Scarm, whatever it is that you mill in your deck, and then make a Dante and then go into your battle phase and attack and just win from there, right? It sounds very simple. At this point, you're probably thinking to yourself, wait, hang on, that's not how Kuri Bandit works. You have to wait until the end phase. You see, waiting until the end phase is for, I guess, I don't know how to put it in a nice way, but for losers, right? So you see, winners go with the anime rule. The anime rule, the rule that winners follow, the rule that actual dedicated, clued up, intelligent Yu-Gi-Oh players go with. We're trying to keep it Harvard. There's the anime rules is really going to be your best source of the rulings and card effects. In the anime, Kuri Bandit can tribute itself off and then mill 5, and then that's it. Like that's what it does. It's still main phase 1, and I just feel like, if you're going to be entering a locals or a regional level, you can probably get away with activating Kuri Bandit's anime effect. Now, if anyone does question you, or if anyone does pull you up for this and say anything like, you can't do that with Kuri Bandit, just tell them that they don't know what they're talking about. If they call a judge, you probably should maybe cease and desist at that point, because you don't want to get disqualified and banned from the game. But generally, people aren't going to read cards. Give it a shot. I would highly recommend Kuri Bandit as a staple Burning Abyss card. And next up, we have Vanities Fiend. Vanities Fiend is an extremely powerful Burning Abyss monster, mostly because of the fact that you can just search it in the end phase with Scarm, since it's a Dark Fiend, and it's a little bit slow to do it that way, but if you do open it, you have generally just won the game. Now, when you have a Vanities Fiend up on the field, it's quite easy to put there, because most of your Burning Abyss, in fact all of your Burning Abyss monsters, except maybe Kuri Bandit, can special summon themselves from the hand straight onto the field, and then you can just simply tribute it off. So you can special summon like 3 Burning Abyss monsters, make a Dante, do some things, whatever, mill, and then you can tribute over for Vanities Fiend and then trigger all your effects, and now you've locked your opponent under Vanities Fiend, which is generally, if you guys have been keeping up with the meta in the last few years, if you have been watching various deck profiles and events since Burning Abyss's inception, you probably would have seen that Vanities Fiend is actually quite a staple card in Burning Abyss, whether it's in the main deck, depending on the format, or as a generic side card. Vanities Fiend has always been very powerful, and I just think with the added bonus of it, like being the only searchable Burning Abyss monster in the whole archetype that is of a higher level, then I think it was just really worth putting this in and worth mentioning, because the fact that having a floodgate is good enough in Yu-Gi-Oh, the ability to just search it out is obviously going to be even more powerful. And the second best Burning Abyss monster of all time would have to be Gameciel. So Burning Abyss is a deck that traditionally will struggle with monsters that have an attack anything between 2501 and upwards. So anything that has that number and beyond is generally going to be slightly annoying for Burning Abyss. Moreover, monsters that have a bit of a higher attack than that, but also have some silly effect on top of it, for example, can't be targeted, or when it's destroyed, floats into another monster that can't be targeted. You guys remember Cosmo format? You know, a bit of an issue there. So Burning Abyss generally always going to play Gameciel in their deck because unironically searchable by Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, which you can send to your graveyard with Beatrice, which was actually very, very common to be able to do back in the day when you would just send it during your opponent's end phase if you didn't require any sort of disruption. And then on your turn, you could search the Kaiju, then put it over your opponent's monster. Now, honorable mention here would be to Godarla. I think he is probably, I would say he's maybe the best Burning Abyss monster. It really just depends on how you look at it, because the ability to make Dante and then put the Beatrice over it and then Kaiju one of their monsters and then attack the Godarla with the Beatrice, but bring out Pimp Dante, and he's just big enough to attack over the Godarla. So Godarla is small enough that it will trigger your Beatrice, but it's it's big enough that it will trigger your Beatrice, but it's small enough that your Pimp Dante will actually then be able to attack over and actually progress your game state and not have you sit at this very, very low table number wondering why the fuck this deck has still not been banned, this deck has still not been stopped in any shape or form, nobody has done anything, Konami just refused to do something about this. And at number one, for the absolute greatest Burning Abyss monster of all time, we are going to go with Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom, again, is a staple card in basically every deck, but particularly Burning Abyss, because of the fact that Burning Abyss, at least in recent years, has traditionally been seen as a bit of an anti-meta deck. And the best way to stop the meta is to stop them from searching their shitty meta cards, because the only way that you're searching is in the end phase. Who would have thought that a deck that searches in the end phase would somehow ever be good? You know, like, imagine something like Ice Barrier of the Medallion. That card's broken. You can search any Ice Barrier in your whole deck instantly, there and then. Main phase 1, you can still keep playing. And for some reason, we have a monster that activates in the graveyard in the end phase. Crazy, crazy. Who would have thought that that monster would somehow be able to be somewhat relevant in the future? Anyway, I digress there, but Ash Blossom is extremely useful in this deck because you are able to go into something like Virgil with a Burning Abyss monster. You know, sometimes Burning Abyss monsters build themselves up when they are on the field with a different... We'll just gloss over that point. We'll leave that topic for a different video. Anyway, Ash Blossom plus any Burning Abyss monster is going to give you a level 6 synchro, which is obviously extremely powerful. Further than that, the ability to Trishula your opponents is going to be extremely potent as well. As you can imagine, two Burning Abyss monsters and Ash Blossom makes Trishula banish their graveyard, hand, and field, and that's only if you know, decide not to stop them from searching, because chances are they're probably not going to be searching something good anyway, since nothing good will ever be able to defeat Dante and his friends. So just before we wrap everything up, I thought it would be a good opportunity to sort of take a step back and maybe look at some of the honorable mentions and stuff. By the way, if you have been watching this far, you may or may not have noticed that there is, and weirdly enough, a surprising lack of Burning Abyss cards, strangely. It's almost as if Burning Abyss isn't generally a good deck right now, and it kind of just relies on other cards. So, some other important cards that I feel like I didn't mention, but just didn't make the cut because of the above just being too good, notably E-Telly. There is Anti-Spell Fragrance, while not a monster, might as well just be a win condition, really. So that card, there's a Skill Drain, and finally, probably Dante, considering how Burning Abyss monsters don't really do anything unless you're making Dante, and you don't really do anything with your duel in game or anything like that without Dante. And finally, of course, shoutouts to Farfa, who surprisingly is only the 9th favorite Burning Abyss monster of mine. So if there was a top 10, you'd know which one Farfa would be in. Spoilers! So that has been my list. If you enjoyed my video, then please leave a comment down below with your favorite Burning Abyss monster, and leave a subscription as well. If you aren't already subscribed, make sure you click the bell icon to get your daily dose of whatever this content was. And yeah, like, and we'll see you next time. Farewell.